Welcome back to another edition of Live from Redhook here at the Function House. Tuesday night, I'd like to welcome to the show our first female DJ guest.
Thank you.
Melissa Nikita.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
Excited?
Is this your first time at Redhook?
This is not my first time in Redhook.
Okay.
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York,
Okay.
so I am pretty fond of the downtown Brooklyn area.
All right.
Nice.
This is the first time at the Function House.
This is the first time at the Function House,
What do you
though.
think?
I'm very, very honored to be here. I appreciate you both and all of you guys at the Redhook. I appreciate it at the Function House. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Well, we're excited to have you here.
Thank you.
We're excited to hear you play.
Thank you.
So obviously you've seen the show.
Yes.
You've seen how we do it.
Yep.
So we like to bring DJs down here because we want to hear your story, and we want to hear your story especially.
Thank you.
Of how you got into the scene. We'll ask you some pretty good questions. Anthony's got a little Rolodex of questions in his head that he's gonna ask.
Let's start with how did you get into the whole music
Yes,
business?
thank you. So it's actually pretty cool that you guys have me on at this point, because this is actually my 20-year mark in the business, in this industry.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I've been within music my entire life. Within my elementary school years, I was a vocalist. I was a writer. My parents were amazing parents. They so pushed me to do whatever I really wanted to do as an individual, no matter what it was. They always supported me, and music was my biggest route. My dad and mom bought me a piano when I was in my elementary years, and with vocal and piano, which helps a lot in the studio with productions.
So you play the piano?
It gets me by electronically in the studio,
Okay.
but I cannot say I could play like a couple of my friends. To name one who is amazing is one of my friends, Joe Josh. He's an amazing piano player.
Shout out to Joe Josh.
Shout out to Joe Josh.
Any other instruments you play?
Piano for electronic purposes, but otherwise DJing, yeah.
Okay.
My partner V-Tone, though, is an amazing drummer. And we
Okay.
are looking forward to starting to incorporate some electronic drums into our new sound in the studio.
Okay.
So it's exciting. But growing up, my dad was amazing. He was a rock and roll guy. So I grew up on the Doors, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd.
Okay.
My mom, on the other hand, was disco. So she was
Disco queen?
Oh yeah, the Bee Gees were playing in the kitchen when she was cooking. I mean, you know, the Italians, you know,
Yeah.
singing around the house, and Donna Summer. So I kind of had the best of both worlds when it came to the vocal aspect and the more dark side of tunes, you know.
Okay.
In about maybe 1991, I had to be at about 11 years old, and I discovered electronic music, house music. It was Hot 97, and it was Saturday night.
Night dance
Yes, Saturday night dance party.
DJ Glenn Frischer?
Glenn Frischer.
The wizard in the mix.
Yes, Glenn was my inspiration. Glenn, if you're out there, you were my inspiration. Glenn and I, it's a long story. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet for the show.
No.
but-
Yeah.
No, tell it. We want to know.
Thank you. My very, very best friends my whole life, besides my sister, Christy Lee, I grew up with Sean Inc. and Eddie Mez.
Okay.
And I was only maybe 13 when I met these guys, and they were DJs, and I had the feel of the house sound from the radio show, which was always a great thing. And now I got to see, like, not only hearing Glenn on the radio and being interested in the sound at only 11 years old, but now I had two cool friends, Eddie Mez and Sean Inc., who had turntables and, you know, equipment, and we had Studio B on Highland Avenue with Grandma Nanny, and we had great times in Studio B. And I just remember as a kid just watching Sean and watching like Eddie Mez, and they would spin vinyl, and Sean had Denon 2600s in his booth at Studio B. And just watching them and just being so enthralled in the music, it was just such an amazing experience to like see what it was like to hear what I was hearing on the radio, but being played live, because I didn't know what it was all about. We didn't have like technology that we have now, but you know, back then it was just about live. So
Sean Inc. and Eddie Mez gave you the buzz.
they were pretty much my biggest feel into the business, inspiration-wise, into actually seeing two guys, you know, work in the business and doing their thing, you know, and they were amazing. They are amazing DJs, rather. So I started with the music, with the Hot 97.
So you went out and started buying records. You were buying records.
Well,
in the
actually, back then it wasn't really like that. Like for me, I was only 11. So it had to be me begging like family members or friends to take me to Virgin Megastores to actually pick up. Back then, besides house music, I was really a big fan of trance music. I loved Paul Van Dyk, Tiesto. I mean, back in those early days, it was really all about trance and like the
Yeah,
Europe.
it was huge. I remember Tiesto was like the biggest DJ in the world.
Yes, yes.
Paul Van Dyk was huge.
Yes,
so.
Paul Van Dyk. I have many, many memories or many years with that genre. Is really close to my heart.
Okay.
So you
But,
started off playing that music.
So I started off trance DJ. Yeah, I started off in love with the trance music, in love with that type of sound. So, but then so now I'm in the business, you know. And then I got into high school. Right before high school, I had an experience where, you know, I grew a little bit of a chop, as the Italians would say, you know, and I went out. I did a couple of clubs. I had a lot of friends that were in the business, and I was really young, but we made a trip out into the city, and I experienced Limelight before I was 16.
That's it. You were done.
Yes, that's it.
Limelight corrupted her.
Limelight, like before I was 16, and then my
Well,
uncle.
You're still alive.
I
so-
know, I'm still alive. Thank God. Good family, good family.
So it wasn't
But
too bad.
it wasn't too bad. But my uncle Carmine, I hope he's tuned in, but he took me to Palladium for my first time, and it had to be about 1995, and it was really about then when I kind of felt like I had the buzz. I wanted to know what was happening in the booth, you know. So I went to high school. I went from Catholic school, and Anthony and I were talking today. He hasn't seen me in 20 years. He didn't even know who I was. But I went to Dewey. Your mom was a good friend of mine, actually. But when I was in Dewey, I started promoting. I had a lot of friends in Dewey. I came from Catholic school over at John Dewey, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, where are you going?" And we were kids, you know. But
Yep.
the thing to do in Brooklyn, if you didn't want to go to the city, was Night Flight,
Night Flight.
Plaza Suite.
Yep.
Rock and Jocks, Antonio Fuccio, close to my heart. So Antonio introduced me to Joe Nova of Apocalypse Promotions.
I
This is
remember.
back in
Yeah.
1996.
Some old school names. Right there.
Old school. So Joe Nova was like, the list was good. My name was Missy. That was what my dad used to call me. And that was my guest list name. And the list was great. I was like the 16-year-old at John Dewey High School promoting nightclubs. It was just like really hilarious. And just to tie in the fact that I had this love for the business and the music and spinning, and then got to be involved in the club scene like at a young age. And, you know, it was just all amazing.
And it was a different time back then, right?
It was.
The club scene was different. The clubs were different.
It was authentic.
It was
you
a
know?
different feel.
It was.
The
It
drugs
really
were
was.
different.
No. The alcohol was good. No, the alcohol was good.
The drugs were stronger.
What are you talking about? My father would have killed me. My mother too.
I'm only kidding.
But I tell you, it was really all because of that got me involved. But the turning point was, so I was promoting for Night Flight.
Yeah.
In between a Rock and Jocks, and of course Glenn Frisha, who I was just beside myself over on the radio, started to spin. You know, and he was traveling with the radio station. So now I'm like this 16-year-old kid, and I'm in this club in Brooklyn. Like, my dad didn't even want me there, you know. And now I hear Glenn Frisha's DJing, so I made my move. Like, I had to go over and talk to him, so I did, and he became like such an inspiration to me, like a friend, like in music, who kind of saw that like I had this spark about the whole business and wanting to be involved and wanting to know what was happening in the booth. And he like kind of invited me, and I was just, like I said, like this little girl, you know. I was just sticking out like a sore thumb among all these men in the business, but he was just like mad cool. And Glenn, we became close friends, like I said. He would invite me to a studio in Bay Ridge. He had a place on 84th Street between 4th and 5th Avenue.
Hard House
House
Productions.
Productions.
Yes, you guys
Hard House
know.
Productions.
Andy used to hang out all the time.
Yeah.
I was only 16, 17. I was going by Glenn Frisha's house. And I mean, I saw Sean Aiken and Imez my whole life, you know, spinning vinyl. And that was my true root. But to be able to study somebody who I felt was like accolades in the business, and like, it was just like a really cool experience. And
Well, at that time, he was very big in the
Yes.
music community
Yes.
because he had the soul show that played only house music.
The Saturday Night Dance Party.
That was
the
amazing,
biggest radio
yeah.
King.
show.
I was talking about Christy Lee, actually. We were talking about that today. She used to actually record the sets. I have cassettes.
I used to record them also. I
Yeah.
think everybody used to record that show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a really good,
Yeah, it was.
and we didn't have that here, you know. I mean, I remember traveling to like Florida when I was like 19, which was in the early like 90s, and they had like electronic music on the radio, and I was always like, you know, we're in New York City, like, why is this not on the radio, you know? But in the early 90s, we had a bit of a taste of it. It was more authentic, but I felt like later on in life, I mean, listen, I love music, no matter what it is, commercial, hard house. I mean, everybody has, it comes from somewhere, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I don't knock on people and in being in their genres, but I was sad that it wasn't in New York, you know? So Glenn had a nickname for me. He used to call me Elvira. I used to be very goth. When your mom knew me at Dewey, I had the palest skin. My brother Anthony would tell you as well. Jet black hair. I used to wear red lipstick, but he called me Elvira. And I would just go chill at his studio for hours and hours with Andy, and I would just watch him play records. So
He'd be like, "What's up, Elvira?"
yes,
Bitch.
yes, dude. Oh man, I miss him.
If
he's
he's
the
watching,
best. If
that's
he's
so
watching,
funny.
yeah. I used to shop at Decadence Records, and he didn't know I started in the business because we lost touch for about 5 years in between in my career. But he called Decadence looking for vinyl, and I happened to be there shopping for records. And that was probably the last time I spoke to him, and it was maybe about 2001.
Wow, that's a long time.
That's a
So
long time.
if he's watching,
I spoke
mean,
to him a couple months ago.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I always wonder if he puts two and two together. So it would be cool. I miss you, Glenn. I do.
So tell me how you got involved with Denon.
Yes.
How did that whole thing come about?
That was a blessing. I've been a Denon DJ my whole life. My friend John Gunn taught me how to spin vinyl first. From watching Sean and Eddie and John, I wanted to learn the aspect of spinning vinyl.
Okay.
So I had asked to spin vinyl first. Sean Inc. had 2600s in his booth, and it was also the staple in nightclubs in Manhattan. I mean, a lot of clubs in the city, besides the Technics 1200s or the 1210s, it was
Denon
Denon
was
2600s.
they were the first introduction into the CD mixing world.
Yes, they were. So I pretty much got involved in regards to that stuff like that. I really feel like it was ultimately it was like a blessing. I was spinning at Sankey's. I was a resident DJ at the time with my partner V-Tone, who we played together, we produced together. And we were, I think it was a New Year's Eve party. I'm not too sure what party it was, but I was always a Denon DJ since my whole career. And we were playing the show, and the equipment actually happened to get wet from the condensation that was coming from the floor above. So Sankey's at the time in New York City had said, you know, we'll take care of the repairs. So I had contacted Denon in regards to the repairs for the equipment. And at the time, Denon was with D&M Professionals. And I was speaking with the people over there, and I had mentioned that, you know, I've been doing this for 15 years, and they had asked me to send some information. They were kind of interested in my story. Thank God I had peppered at the time internationally, where I have played some festivals overseas. In my early 20s, I've done the I Love Techno Festival, which was South America and Amsterdam, and a couple of European countries as well. So when I sent them my press kit, they had asked me for a couple of live sets, which I had sent them, a couple of live sets. And then pretty much in between the time of my equipment being repaired and my communications with the brand, they were pretty much interested in hearing more about if I'd be interested in like working with them.
Yep.
So we started talking, and then I was producing some more sets, and then they were really into it. And then I was asked to be endorsed and sponsored by Denon DJ. Which was
so you must have been astounded.
I was, and I can't forget the day. It's almost 6 years now that I've been with the brand, and it's been an amazing transition, and I feel very proud for them because they were recently acquired by In Music.
Yep.
And In Music is just an amazing conglomerate, especially in regards to all the recent additions to the brand. Rain, Denon DJ, it's just so much is happening for In Music, and it's brought so much to the table for Denon DJ, and it's been very exciting. So for the past 6 years, I've been with them.
So do you travel a lot with them?
I
know
do,
you go
I
to the
do.
conventions, right? They have the conventions all over the place.
I do. I'm then on the Expo, the
I've seen some
DJ
videos.
magazine. Yep. The Times magazine is the Expo every summer, and then also I do a NAMM, which is every January. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Okay.
So what else goes into being a Den-On DJ?
Well, I mean, of course, the equipment. The equipment's a big play. I mean, I'm always in love with the equipment. A lot of people want to compare it to other things, and my whole life, besides vinyl, I've just taken a liking to the whole Den-On brand. I mean, the MCX 8000 is what I'll be fashioning tonight.
Yeah.
It's a standalone controller. It's extremely dope. It has a stage link feature where you're actually able to link video to the sound. I've played it at NAMM like that.
Yeah.
But I also have the ability to spin without a laptop. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love controllers. I'm really able to like produce on the fly. But I kind of like the look of myself personally when I'm just mixing and I'm just feeling my music and
Not having to stare at a computer.
yeah, you know, and like I said though, I mean, there are plenty of shows where I definitely incorporate the laptop and you know, I'll play 3-4 decks and remix on the fly and it's great, but it's nothing like closing your eyes and just feeling your mixes and knowing your music, you know what I mean? It's just like a whole different...
When the controller wave started coming onto the scene, were you hesitant in going? Because in the beginning, the controllers were not as robust as they are today.
Yeah. It was.
You know,
it wasn't as cool to be seen with a
it
controller
wasn't.
either.
You know, they were very small. They didn't have all the feature sets, and they weren't like native to a lot lot of the programs that are out there. So
but now they're making unbelievable controllers.
Well, yeah, I mean, the 8000 is an unbelievable controller. They actually just won the DJ Magazine Award for 2016 for the Ultimate DJ Controller of this year. So it's really a serious piece of equipment. I mean, it has 2 HD display screens. I mean, I have a 4 digital channel mixer. With the standalone feature, I could play just, you know, my tracks without a laptop. And if I wanted to play Serato, I plug in my laptop and I have 4 channels of Serato.
So if you play, if you do play with your laptop, you're playing with Serato?
Yep, Serato, yep. I do love Tractor though as well. I mean, the MCX 8000 is the next piece of equipment that's coming out for Den-On DJ, which I'm like super floored about. I can't wait to have it. It's basically a miniature version of the 8000 without the screens, display screens. It is a controller, it's not a DJ player. But it is capable of Serato, Virtual DJ, and Tractor. So any DJ across the board software-wise can just plug and play. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it also has a dual audio interface. So it's a seamless transition between not only myself but another DJ. So like my partner Vitale, for instance, like we can actually spin together seamlessly, you know, at a night out. And it's a smaller controller. Same built-in effects, like same steady control. Just, I mean, I really appreciate the brand, and I'm very happy to be part of the family. It's a really good piece of machinery, seriously.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Thank you.
So talk to us about music. So you know, you started off on the trance scene.
Yeah.
And you know, so what are you gravitating towards today?
So my Instagram profile quote is like, the music that I've played over the years of my life and experiences have actually mirrored the experiences within my life. So, like, depending on what has gone on in my life, I kind of like fashioned into different genres of music because I guess I was feeling like a certain different way. But I was like the only techno New York-based DJ that would bring that techno sound here to New York back in like the late 90s and the early 2000s. And like nowadays, though it's been like a long time, because I've been really like in love with like techno for like the past like maybe 10 years. But now I'm starting to like gravitate to more of a melodic techno, where like I feel like my trance roots are kind of like resurfacing, which is pretty interesting because it brings like a bit of an emotional aspect to the table for me. So I'm kind of excited with the direction that I'm going in. And I know like people have like, they expect me to play like this crazy dark techno, which is pretty much most of the way I've been displayed for the past like maybe 16, 15 years in this business. But I hope they can appreciate that as you grow and you become a different individual in stages in life, that you do embrace different genres like within music. And I just hope people understand my story. And though maybe they be expecting like some crazy hard dark techno set, and they may be getting like more of a tribal aspect melodic set, it really is expressing the way I feel in my shoes today. Like all the experiences that I've had in my life had led me to these shoes today. you know? So it's important to me to be accepted in that this is my art and this is what I want to express.
So you play from the heart.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I do tailor to events. And a lot of DJs say that they won't tailor to events, and I feel like if you're a supporting DJ, you should respect the people that you're working with. And I take great pride in if I know I'm working with, and you know, V-Tone, and we've been partners for 5 years in many different ways. He's my life partner, my partner in business. But when we first started, it was in the mid-2000s. You know, we started playing like, it was actually Halloween shows. So it's kind of funny how I'm brought here today, like around the time of where we had started playing. But, you know, I would call people and say, like, I would want to vibe with you, say, like, you know, what's in your market for the show? Like, what are you feeling? Like, what are you into? What do you want to play? Like, obviously, I'm only going to play tracks that move me, but there are many different genres that move me. So I want to know, like, if I am supporting somebody, if I'm going to support you the way you deserve to be supported, you know? I think that's important. And I know nowadays it's very saturated, and there are a lot of DJs and people who, you know, are, I don't even want to get into it, but you know what I'm saying, you know? But I always feel it's authentic in the business, especially being from the early 90s, to know that as a support DJ, you should respect the DJ that you're going to support. And I would want to cater to whatever sound I feel from the heart to support them. And if I'm leading a show, I would hope that anybody who's there to hear my show will respect actually what I'm looking to divulge in that evening.
So
basically.
Does Denon have, as a brand, have any influence in what you play?
No, and that's a blessing because...
What about at like the seminars that you do?
It's wonderful. They don't.
They don't, that's great.
They don't, yeah. They trust.
They let you rock.
Yes, they do. And you know what though? I do tend to cater to my crowd. So if I'm booked for a particular venue, I understand. I mean, after hours events, you're gonna play, you know, an after hours sound and get in more dark and techie and stuff.
Yeah.
But for the expos and like the trade shows, like it's all about fun. Like I'll throw classics in there, you know? Just like I want people to be there to be able to connect with me in regards to like memories and like something to like soften people up. So it's definitely a different like aspect in game when you're playing like, you know, like a convention or an expo rather than me doing like an after hours show or an underground nightclub, for instance.
Yep.
Yeah.
So talk about your preparation going into a party or going into like one of these, how do you go through music? How do you find new music?
Well, I have a lot of friends that will yell at me over this because I stress a lot of people out actually. I love Beatport, so I do a lot of shopping.
Yeah.
I check out the charts a lot. I'm also on a lot of record pools, so I have a lot of different record labels sending us music like Deconstruct, Illegit, for instance, New York-based record labels.
Do you belong to any of the pools?
Well, I have a Deconstruct. I belong to their pool.
Okay.
We have a couple other pools as well. They are underground, and I would like to keep them confidential. To keep my weapons to myself.
You know, like,
if that's okay.
You can tell us when the cameras are off.
I'll tell you.
I'd like to know.
You can't hide with Shazam nowadays.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But it's funny because I've always said like in regards to like social media, we're coming out with Denon DJs paired up with Label Works.
Okay.
And that's our newest venture. They've started some live streams that are up that are actually out now. All over the world, all provided with the MCX 8000, which is really great. And I'll definitely be giving away some more, you know, secrets and vibes when it comes to that stuff. But
that's cool.
But the pools, I mean, the record labels that we're involved in, and then of course Beatport. I mean,
yeah.
I appreciate supporting and I appreciate shopping. So I mean, the couple of extra bucks here and there, I appreciate. So that's pretty much like what I focus on.
Yeah.
Is,
well, I mean, compared to what it was back in the day to buy
records are $1.20.
You know,
it was soul seeking.
Today, you know, you spend $100 on Beatport or TrackSource.
Yeah.
And you get, you know.
Yeah. Or you have my friend Sean Kay. My friend Sean Kay, who's here tonight. He's very helpful in regards to sharing some good dirty beats every so often. So and Chrissy Lee, of course. But yeah, it's Do
you find like it's just overwhelming sometimes with the amount of music that's out there in terms of like, you know, because there's just so much.
There is.
I mean, you could spend 3 hours on like TrackSource or Beatport and just listen to so many things. You're like, I like this.
Yeah,
I like
I find
that,
myself
like
buying a lot more
Yes.
sugar than needed.
Yeah. It's true. I just said to V-Tone last week, I was like, techno needs subgenres now. I mean, you need like groovy techno, melodic techno, regular techno. I mean, there's so many genres that come into play, but I pretty much just prepare in regards to like what I want to like display for that night. So for this especially, like I prepared some pretty cool like party-driven like tribal tech in the beginning.
Right.
But I definitely am looking forward to ending with some techno. So I'm hoping that everybody's going to stick around till the late wee hours that you guys have us to thank you. Yeah. But I am excited. I do want to mention a couple of releases if you guys won't mind.
Yeah, of course.
We just finished a great vocal remix with Lisa Pure, who's been peppered across the Billboard charts.
Yep. Lost Without You, right? That's the big track.
Oh my God, yep. We did, it's called Life is Beautiful. It's coming out in the fall and winter on her record label, which is, I'm pretty happy for her. Good luck, Lisa.
That's awesome.
Yep. And we also have another track coming out called Tramonto, which means sunset in Italian.
Okay.
Vitone and I have found that, our roots are Italian-American, Sicilian-American. And all of our track names that we've come out with in our discography have been actually Italian, named after Italian. So Tramonto is our track coming out. We have a great remix featured by Nino Belemo. And another remixer who I hope is aboard, I'm waiting on some information from, but it's with Bass Music out of the UK, and they are part of the Crafted family of labels, so it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
I'm very excited. It's gonna
Good,
be
you
cool.
keep them busy.
Yeah, hopefully. Always trying, definitely.
Well, it seems like you have a very great career.
Thank you. It's
You
been
know,
a blessing.
And
Thank you.
So we're excited to get you on the decks.
Thank you.
And we're excited to hear you play and
So,
rock the Function House.
We're going to take a 2-minute break, and we're going to get Melissa up on the Denon 8000.
MCX 8000.
MCX 8000.
Thank you.
Peace.